Hello, Steve White, Steve 89. Well, I was quite dismayed to hear the news about Transformers. The idea that they're going to do a Beast Wars film. I do not want a Beast Wars film. I never watched Beast Wars. I could never take it seriously. It always just seemed like a bad rip-off, a bad idea. Just the idea of machines that transform into giant animals and walk around like animals, but are machines. It just was one of those ideas someone had in a toy company marketing like conference room, like, gee, kids like Transformers, kids like dinosaurs, why don't we have, we've already got the Dinobots, but why don't we just do a whole show where I mean, you can just see how it happened. I never liked it. um, and the idea of making a film out of it, I'm just like, oh, how did this happen? And I got to thinking about the films. Now, the original cartoon film, awesome. Can't believe it only made $10 million, five domestic, five worldwide. I can't believe that wasn't a hit back in the day. I mean, everyone watched it. It is a cult film. Like, I know everyone watched it on video and on TV and all that. And I thought I was the only one who didn't see it in the cinema because I was too young. Now, the reboot films, or whatever you want to call them, the Michael Bay films. Now, the first film I thought was amazing. Um, all the licensing bullshit just totally got past me. I was just happy to see live action Transformers and to have such a big action film. I saw it like four times. I loved it. It only made $709 million, though, which only, but $709 million, 319 domestic, 390 worldwide. Now, Revenge of the Fallen, that was pretty bad. I remember watching that and being like, how did this become so stupid so quickly? With like Devastator having giant balls and just the kind of just the jokes, and this is really bad. I couldn't believe it went from the first film to where it got so quick. That film made 836, so at least it made more money. It made 402 domestic and 434. I wasn't really aware of how much these films made back in the day, but I just went and had a look at Box Office Mojo. Now, Dark of the Moon, I like Dark of the Moon. They obviously listened to the backlash from the second film, and the film's a lot better. And that made 1,123,000,000, which is not a huge surprise. They've gone progressively up. It made 352 domestic, 771 worldwide. So it was a really big hit internationally. Now, the age of I forgot the name of the actual film, but the next one. That made 1,104,000,000, so a tiny little bit less. 245, so less domestically, 858 foreign. And that's when they really, I guess it started with Dark of the Moon, but they really started to focus on the foreign market and trying to make the films more for a foreign audience, and getting further and further away from the original story of just the Transformers like in America and the basic tradition, the original story, which they were so far away from with all the licensing crap anyway, which I didn't realize was sort of happened till later. Um, but the next film, oh God, it was just so bad. The Last Night. I just like Age of Innocence was bad as well. Like they went to China and they had the Dinobots, and it was just lame and comicky and cartoony and not just so far removed from the first film that was basically trying at least to be fun but realistic. Um, the Last Night was just, and just the story, it's just so far removed from the original origin story, and it's just because licensing they had to create a different story so they didn't have to pay anyone for any and use any of the original elements or designs or characters or the personalities. Just I realize now it's all about licensing, creating their own world so they can make money off of it instead of using the world we actually wanted to see. So I lost all interest during Age of Innocence. I went back for last night just because I felt, well, I have to see it. I saw it once. I've never watched it again. Um, Now, Bumblebee, I was really excited about Bumblebee. I was so excited about Bumblebee. Going back to the 80s, just focusing on a couple of characters, not being so huge and overblown, which the other films were, where they were just so big and far. You couldn't focus on any of the people. It was like a roller coaster ride that you just never got a grip of. Um, and I really hated the last film, and the film before that wasn't very good either. Bumblebee, though, I'm shocked. It only made, sorry, last night made 605 million, 130 domestic and 475 worldwide. So I'm quite surprised it made almost half as much. I mean, I'm not surprised because it was so bad, but I didn't realize people had that good a taste because they liked Age of Innocence and came back. Well, actually, no, they didn't. They actually didn't. They did. I think a lot of people saw that film based on Dark of the Moon, and then they didn't come back for last night. And then they started rethinking, and they thought, well, okay, we're spending a huge amount of money on these overblown, giant cartoon films. Let's go back to something basic, spend a bit less money, have a bit less risk. And I loved Bumblebee. I saw it twice. It's the first film I'd seen twice since the original, which I saw 4 times. And I really enjoyed it. I wish it'd been a little bit more 80s, a little bit more. It was a bit too Michael Bay, but I guess they had to sort of find a balance between the two worlds because they've got this new Michael Bay fan base who like that style of Transformer. So now they've got sort of the same problem with Star Trek, where they've got this Discovery universe and the fans who like that. So you sort of have to now try and make a universe that works for both sides that are both totally opposite. So they've got that problem. But I really liked it. I can't believe how little money it made. It made 467 million, 127 domestic and 340 foreign. Although I can almost understand, because when it came out, I couldn't find it anywhere. I had trouble finding a screening. I had trouble finding a screening at a time I could see. It was being treated like a kid's film. It was being shown during the day before 2 o'clock. I barely get up by 1 o'clock. So I'm not out of the house and doing anything if I'm going out. So I had trouble finding it and getting to it twice was a struggle, but I made the effort. And merchandise, I struggled to find a couple of colouring in books, and that's it. There were no decent toys. There's some kiddie toys which are crap and I wouldn't buy. It took forever to find a basic Bumblebee Transformer, quality Transformer, and that's part of a series that they do a lot of Transformers. It wasn't even specific to the Bumblebee movie. And I found the steelbook, and that's it. That's all the merch I have for this film. I would have bought everything, but it wasn't even there. So I'm not really surprised the film didn't do as well, because I think they sabotaged it. I think Michael Bay didn't want it to do well. I think they treated it like a kid's film. They marketed it that way. They limited the merchandise. They didn't spend much money on it, so it could only have limited success. Now, the fact they spent less money on it means, it didn't need to be as profitable and so forth, but I think they really sabotaged it. And now there was talk of a sequel, which I was excited about because they were going to expand on it. And there was also a talk of a Cybertron, War for Cybertron movie, because that was obviously the part of the movie everyone loved the most. I was looking forward to those two, but now I hear there's competing scripts for, I can't even say it, Beast Wars and Bumblebee 2. And Beast Wars is supposedly going to be made by the guy who did Independence Day Resurgence, which was okay, but was very much a mindless sort of Hollywood movie. And yeah, I can't even go into that film. It wasn't great. James Vanderbilt. So he's apparently been looking at doing Beast Wars since April. So it sounds like they've made some movement with it, which scares the hell out of me. There's talk of Michael Bay filming something in the Netherlands or somewhere. I heard somewhere. But I haven't looked into it yet. I don't want to think that they're even anywhere near filming anything for this. And Bumblebee 2, I haven't heard anything about it, except that it's being made by Joby Harold, who did Army of the Dead and was involved in John Wick 3. So he has some credibility because everyone loved John Wick 3, but there's some speculation that these both films are in script form and they're just sort of picking to see which one they're going to go with to follow on with the franchise. Do they keep going the Bumblebee route and reboot it and just make it a bit bigger, more like the other films, or do they, which still has to be balanced, so it doesn't get too big again, or do they go with big and mindless again with big animal Transformers, which is, oh, I can't handle it. But yeah, so I heard this and I couldn't really look at it. I couldn't look at the videos. I'm like, oh, I can't handle the idea of Beast Wars. I don't want to hear it. But I sort of had to look at it, and I looked at it today and I'm like, okay, this is where we're at. It could happen. It seems to be in development on some level, and I just hope they go with Bumblebee, or they just reboot the whole thing. I mean, Bumblebee 2 would be great. A reboot in the Bumblebee universe, which has like the Michael Bay sort of style technology, but still with the 80s sort of characters and style as well, finding a merging and a balance between those two, and a balance between character and the blockbuster, instead of just going full belt like they did with the last two big ones before Bumblebee. But I'm gonna have to do some more research and find out what's really happening. There's not a lot available at the moment, and I didn't look that far because I didn't want to find much about Beast Wars because I don't want it to happen. But I'm going to leave it there because I've talked too much with very little information. But I was really surprised to look at the box office of the films because I didn't realise they made as much money, the middle films. I didn't realise the first film only made 700, and I really didn't realise that Bumblebee only made 467. I knew it wasn't really big, but I thought it was bigger than that. But at the same time, I had no idea that the Last Night had made only 605 million. So the fact that the follow-up Bumblebee was only 467 with far less promotion and everything isn't surprising once you know that made 605. But I had no idea it had done that badly. I knew it was a horrible film and I hated it. I just walked away, didn't look at it. I didn't realise everyone else had done the same thing. I thought it was just me that had a clue. Apparently other people hated it too. So 12 minutes, I better stop talking. Feel free to share, like, comment, and hopefully there'll be more to talk about with Transformers, but hopefully it will be good. Thanks, bye.